Artificial intelligence has been a topic that has been thought about and discussed thoroughly for almost 100 years at this point. One of, if not the first person to consider the idea was the famous Alan Turing, whose efforts were incredibly important during the Second World War. A paper that he published, which was one of the first papers on artificial intelligence, according to a Harvard article written by Rockwell and Yoha, operated under the idea that if humans could use information and reasoning to solve problems and make decisions, then machines should be able to as well. Unfortunately, Turing was limited in how far he could take his research due to the lack of computing capabilities as well as the costs associated. Now, artificial intelligence is budding in use across vastly different fields, from medical procedures to graphic design, and it comes with the question of if it's beneficial to humanity overall. The ever expanding use of artificial intelligence in all parts of life is having a negative impact due to its ability to be used for deception, its lack of credit given in use of artist work, and the impact it will have on the job market in the future. To begin with, artificial intelligence has been utilized for scams in the past, and it is only becoming easier and more accessible in recent years. Programs that allow anyone to deepfake, which is a tool that uses AI to make it appear as though a person is saying something they are not, have become an increasingly effective tool in spreading misinformation in advertising. Especially with the improvements specifically in voice deepfakes, it is becoming more difficult to distinguish what is real from what is fake, which will only become more difficult in the future. The use of AI has also made older scams such as phishing much more efficient. According to Ari Jacoby, who works in AI security, these advancements have made it so, quote, more bad accounts can be created and more success can be had by those bad actors. Another developing use of artificial intelligence is the creation of art completely generated by a number of programs. The most commonly brought up issue with this practice is that these programs pull art from all parts of the internet and then use the information from those images to create a new piece of art based on the user's prompt. This can be seen in this AI-generated piece that looks strikingly similar to Starry Night. This essentially allows a person to subvert certain copyright laws that require an artist to be compensated and credit for the use of their work if they allow it. According to the New York Times, in the year 2023, the United States Copyright Office has decided to examine their laws/policies regarding artificial intelligence. This, however, will not prevent individuals from simply using this technology in the same way while avoiding major consequences. Automating jobs is a major goal of many people working on AI technology, and this is in principle a good idea. Unfortunately, in the system we operate in, automation is typically used to cut labor costs rather than increase productivity within the existing workforce. As shown in this graph provided by McKinsey, it is estimated that over 490 million jobs could be lost to automation by 2030, with 73 million of those coming from the United States. While companies will greatly benefit from the ability to save on labor costs, this shift towards automation will be catastrophic for average workers across the transportation, food service, medical industries, and more. The automation of more dangerous construction and transportation jobs will also ultimately result in a lack of accountability when accidents inevitably happen. It is already difficult enough to hold businesses accountable when it will cost them money, but with the introduction of more artificial intelligence software from different independent companies, the legal blame will be continuously pushed in different directions. As for scams and deepfakes, there's not too much that can be done in order to stop their effectiveness other than ensuring that the general population is thoroughly educated. An especially helpful way to deal with this issue would be setting up elderly online literacy programs, as they are the most targeted group of people when it comes to these types of scams. When it comes to copywriting issues that arise from AI-generated art, the fact is that people will continue to use it for their own monetary gain regardless of how the laws change. It will always be a factor to some degree. Another issue that arises is that for the people who create these programs to credit every artist that their algorithm used would take an absurd amount of time. While it is questionable how feasible this solution is, these programs could only be allowed to take input from databases of art that the artists can choose to upload their art to. This would allow for artists to be fairly compensated on their work while also assisting with the advancement of the technology. Rather than replacing workers with artificial intelligence and essentially tossing them to the side, the employers could train their current employees to upkeep the machines or work in tandem with them to increase productivity even further than if only one was working on the task. Proponents of AI will often bring up the fact that AI can simply perform certain tasks better than a person for a fraction of the cost. This is undoubtedly true, especially when it comes to medical procedures where problems can be spotted and diagnosed much easier than by human doctors. The Southern Medical Association determined that certain artificial intelligence-based diagnostic tools, quote, scored better than 70% of the doctors who were given the exact same case. This is obviously an invaluable tool for society. It can also be argued that the problem isn't the AI, but rather the people who create and use it. This is another point that is difficult to argue with, as many of the issues that arise with the use of AI are directly from the human decision to create a phishing email or program a deceptive software. Many of these possible solutions various groups have suggested are also based greatly around changing how people can abuse the system. With this being the case, it could be argued that artificial intelligence should continue to progress as is, since it is not the root of the issues.